Hello, I'm Chris474, and I'm back with another episode of Play Novel Silent Hill for the Game Boy Advance. Last episode we finished Harry's scenario and got the B ending. And because we beat Harry's scenario, we unlocked Cybil's scenario. Today we're gonna start on Cybil's scenario. You can get multiple endings for that too, but we're just gonna go for one this year. I don't know how many chapters hers is. 10 chapters. Okay. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. Hello? Hello? The phone had suddenly gone dead. She tried to call back right away. However, the call would not go through. Perfect. I wonder what is going on. Her co-worker Sally saw Sybil's flushed face and could not help making a joke. It's because you are so hostile. I bet they just don't want to talk to you anymore. Hostile? Perhaps after all, I do always say what's on my mind. Saying this, Cybil smiled. The peaceful town of Brahms, the population is small. Perhaps for this reason, there has not been an incident worth calling an incident for several years. As for the officers on the night shift, they generally pass the time by staring at newspaper clippings or chatting with colleagues at other departments. Even now, with nothing notable appearing in the local news, Cybil was just having a meaningless conversation about this and that with a friend in the Silent Hill Police Department. But then suddenly the line had gone dead. Yeah, I can hear the line gone dead. And they had not called back. The call won't go through. Maybe this is happening because someone is trying to tell you not to waste all your time chatting. How about settling down and taking your feet off the desk? Cybil does not care for Sally's big sister-like attitude. Cybil calls the Silent Hill police station one more time. Odd, Cybil thought. It seems as if this might be the result of the telephone lines having been severed or something. Cybil leaps from her chair, causing it to spin, reaches for the helmet on top of a locker, and with it in hand prepares to leave the room. Oh, are those leather pants? No, they couldn't be it because they look kind of tight. Wait, just where do you think you are going at this hour? Sally has a look of "you have got to be kidding" on her face, and then she absent-mindedly allows the coffee cup she was holding in her right hand to fall to the floor. Ah, hot. You can take care of that yourself, Sybil mumbles this in her head, and in the next moment ran out of the room. Sybil straddles the motorcycle in the garage, inserts the key, and revs the engine. The sound of the exhaust resonates in the small space. She pulls out onto the road and increases her speed as she is bathed from head to toe in the uncomfortably warm wind. Wanna but we wanna take notes again about our options. Well, if this is only 10 chapters, this should be It should definitely take less time than Harry's. Starlight falls upon her from the clear, starlit sky. It doesn't look like the weather could have caused the problem with the phone lines. Cybil tightly holds onto the handlebars and continues to increase her speed. At this hour, there should not be any other cars heading to Silent Hill. The road has been lit in front and behind only by street lamps since she reached the mountain road, and there is no sign of anyone in the area. However, after a while, she was able to see the taillights of a vehicle swaying far off in the darkness in front of her. There is a cliff on one side of the road. Whether they realize that or not, the vehicle is heading towards the same direction as Cybil at high speed. Normally, I would pull this guy over, Cybil mutters this, increases her speed, and catches up with the four-wheel drive Jeep in no time. As she passes it, Cybil glances inside the Jeep for a moment, quickly smiles, and then blasts in front of it. The Jeep quickly becomes smaller and smaller in the side mirrors of her motorcycle. Huh? And then she started to notice that she could not keep her eyes focused. Sleepiness. No, I have been on the night shift for a while and should have gotten and gotta plenty of sleep this afternoon. Her body becomes one with the motorcycle, and it slices through the darkness. Maybe it was foolish to wear short sleeves, although it was rather warm when Cybil left the station. Now her skin feels so cold that it is like the cold is cutting into her. Her eyelids are heavy. Her mouth has become dry. What's wrong with me? She lightly shakes her head left and right. Against her will, her right hand turns the grip that will cause her to accelerate. The needle is buried and madly shakes back and forth. Cybil then stared straight ahead, forward. But it was already too late. In the middle of the road, a girl stood, with her arms raised to shield her from the light. Cybil slammed on the brakes. The last thing she saw was the rapidly approaching rock wall on the side of the road. Hita. Something cold is touching Cybil's cheek. Cybil slowly opened her eyes. Where am I? She is not yet able to stand up. She does not seem to be hurt. However, her body will not do as she commands. Nevertheless, she is fully conscious. Large snowflakes are falling all over her body. She is lying face down in the middle of a wide street. I wonder just how long I have been here like this. After waiting for the nerves throughout her body to return to normal, Cybil lumbered to her feet. Her body was sluggish, like when she wakes up, and she was unable to think straight. Silent Hill, and that is what is written on the sign on the sidewalk. In addition to the out-of-season snow, the area is enveloped in thick fog, which generally makes her destination look differently than it normally would. The motorcycle that she came here on was also nowhere to be found. With nothing else to do, she decided to rest in the cafe facing the street. The inside of the cafe is dead silent. She does not see any customers or employees. This destroys her hopes of getting something warm to drink, so she lets out a sigh. First, I must get in contact with the other officers back in Brahms. Cybil picks up the receiver from the phone on the corner of the counter, but not a single sound can be heard from the speaker. It seems like somehow the heavy snowfall, which could be called abnormal weather, has damaged the communication system. There is no doubt that this is the reason why the call got cut off at the Brahms station. Cybil looks around the inside of the cafe. Ah! She gasps without thinking about it. She can see a man lying down on one of the long bench seats lined up along the windows. A customer? No, this place isn't open. She moves near him and looks down in his sleeping face. His face is twisting in agony, as if he is having a frightening dream. Cybil hesitates. Ooh, excuse me. Let's go with B. Yo, B. That's option one. Let's go with B. She wakes. She wakes him up. Cybil approaches the man and holds her arms out in a way that suggests that she is going to shake his shoulders. Ugh. At that moment, the man woke up with a look of surprise on his face. He shook his body in a way to brush Cybil's hands away, and then stared at her. Human? Are you human? Cybil makes an effort to compose herself and then sits down on a nearby chair. Of course I am. Were you having a bad dream or something? The man finally regains his composure as well, and then he adjusts his position on the bench seat. Sorry, I was attacked by mysterious monsters before I came here. Mysterious monsters? Yeah, it may have been just a dream. I think that it was real. It was all vague and unclear. Who are you? I'm Cybil Bennett. I am a police officer in the neighboring town of Brahms. All communication with this town suddenly went dead. So I came here to investigate. Harry's expression changed slightly to one of relief. I should have said so sooner, but I'm Harry Mason. I am a writer. I decided to come here for my first vacation in a while. Harry shrugged his shoulders and looked at Cybil with a serious look on his face. But when I arrived here, I got separated from my daughter. She is a little girl, 7 years old with black hair. Her name is Cheryl. You haven't seen her, have you? Let me check. Sorry, but I haven't. I see. Just where did she go? She is not the type to just act on her own. When I came to, I was lying in the street in front of this cafe. As for how I got here, I don't remember at all. That sounds a lot like what happened to me. Well, anyway. Eric stands up and glances at the out-of-season snow that continues to fall. I've got to look for Cheryl. There is no way I can just leave her here alone. I see. Well, I'll give you this then. You never know what might happen under these circumstances. If you feel threatened, then pull the trigger without hesitating. She gives Harry a handgun loaded with live ammunition. But will you be alright? Harry asks, worriedly. I'm not like the average girls around here. I have undergone the proper training. Cybil placed her hand on the exit door, but then she turned and faced Harry again. Harry, don't go shooting me by mistake or anything. I haven't had any training on how to stop bullets. She smiled after saying this, opened the door of the cafe, and then headed out into the thick fog. Cybil looks back and sees that the cafe has disappeared into the fog. Having lost her motorcycle, Cybil can only wander about on foot, and alone in the eerie town. It's too quiet. A little too Raph. There is no sense of anyone at all. I would like to hail a taxi or something, but there is not a single car running. At some point, Cybil had began to run. Above all, she must get out of Silent Hill. However, after running for a bit, Cybil's hopes were crushed. All the roads leading out of town were cut off, and it was as if the entire town was floating in the air. There was no way for anyone to enter the town. Ha! Ah, Cybil sighs deeply. Ah, like, ah, like, ah. Cybil sighs deeply. She then decides to try going back the way she came. After running for a bit, she comes to another steep valley like before. It is wide and impedes her passage. And then she became sure that it was not possible to escape from this place. Cybil felt like a bird in a cage as she walked apathetically and aimlessly through the falling snow. It was not long before a black, wriggling object appeared in her field of vision. What is that? From off in the fog, the four-legged thing moved at a slow pace as it gradually closed the distance between it and her. And then as soon as it detected Cybil, it began to ferociously run towards her, scattering the fog as it moved. The monster. I get to choose whether it attacks me or it just runs away. Well, hmm. Well, gee. Would I seriously choose to be attacked by a monster? No, we'll go with B. It just ran away. The monster just moves right past Cybil and then continues away from her. Clearly is headed somewhere with some purpose. Various concerns run through the back of Cybil's mind. Instinctively, she begins to chase after the monster. However, its speed is fast, and it does not appear possible for Cybil to be able to catch up to it. Additionally, the thick curtain of fog is also making her pursuit difficult. Cybil continues to run for a while, but ends up completely losing sight of her target. She stops and leans against an antique lamppost and presses on her chest. She wastes the time between her continuous white breaths, gradually increases, and then begins walking again. Cybil. Oh, gee, A. Calms herself down. Being unable to escape from Silent Hill, Cybil then worried about what she should do next. Since all the people have vanished, she cannot even talk to anyone about what is happening here. I should look for the police station. Even if the person I was talking on the phone with earlier isn't there, I might be able to get some other information there. She has visited this town many times, following the thread of her memory. She begins walking along the complicated intersecting streets. Just how long have I been walking? As she saw the word police appear from out of the fog, her entire body was completely exhausted. She opens the glass door at the entrance and heads inside. As she does this, she sees that no one is here, which is just as she had expected. The lack of any sound is painful to her ears. After she walked around the reception area for a bit, she moved towards a room that the door had been left open for. The plate beside the door says, "Meeting room." Compared to the same room at the Brom station, this one is quite small. She looked around the room. Ah. Option 4. Let's go with B. Someone is here. Cybil senses someone. Someone somewhere in the small room. Underneath the lined-up tables, behind the folding chairs, Cybil cautiously checked all the places that someone could hide in. But it does not appear that anyone is here. Oh, well. The faded ceiling fan is blowing air down towards Cybil. That might have been what made her so sure someone was here. Or perhaps it was just her imagination. She is uneasy. She wants to talk to someone, to anyone. These feelings might be what made Cybil think that someone was here. Oh, well. What was that all about? Cybil left the police station. Cybil was once again in the city streets where the snow is falling. That's right. Cybil recalled her conversation with Harry. Oh yeah, Cybil, you haven't seen a little girl in this town, have you? A little girl? Yes, Cheryl. I wonder if I will be able to rescue her unharmed in this town, which ha become a nest of monsters. But Cybil is a police officer. To find and protect Cheryl is her responsibility and her mission. Realizing this, Cybil could not sit still, and in the next moment she was gone. There should be an elementary school on the edge of town. Cybil followed her intuition and decided that Cheryl had probably headed for the school after wandering around town. Per her training in child psychology, she has learned that if a child loses their parents or guardian, then the chance is high that they will be drawn to places that they are most used to going. Places where there are a lot of people. However, ahead of her, all knowledge, either a bit instinctively or due to a sense similar that of a memory coming back. Okay, that was not a very solid translation of that line. She believes somewhere within her heart that Cheryl was probably at the elementary school. Cybil may have been drawn here by someone. As she nears the elementary school, part of her shirt becomes soaked with clammy sweat. Is it really okay to go inside? She asked herself this many times. She asks herself this many times. Not she asks herself this many times. Like, how many times? As she reached the edge of the school grounds, her conscientious sense of duty as a police officer rose up within her along with her sense of reason. And she began to walk naturally towards the school. It is now too late for her to turn back. She readies herself, and then using both hands, she pushes the door in front of her open with all her strength. The aged building reeks of a peculiar mildew. However, its insides were much cleaner than she had expected, and Cybil found this a bit surprising. Perhaps it was just the result of her enduring the cold wind for so long. But she had a terrible headache. Cybil pressed her fingers to her temples, and eventually began to walk aimlessly again. Cybil opened a door leading to a long hallway. She looked through the glass windows placed in the doors of the classrooms while slowly walking. There was no sign of Cheryl. The courtyard is to her right. The landscaping is very nice and has been well cared for. The snow has become sleet. It does not look like it will accumulate. In the back of the courtyard, there is an old-feeling clock tower. However, Cybil is not particularly interested in... I wonder how Harry is doing. I wonder if the gun I gave him has come in handy. If I cannot meet with Harry after I find Cheryl, then it will be meaningless. We should have made plans to rendezvous somewhere. Cybil thought this, but at this point, nothing could be done. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. At any rate, there was a horrible headache. It is gradually getting worse, dulling her sense of time and space. A sluggishness, similar to sleepiness, grasps her entire body. Perhaps I am just dreaming all of this, Sybil thought. It is difficult for a person to tell whether they are dreaming or not while in a dream. But for her to accept these conditions is just as difficult. She has no memory of how she got to this town, so it seemed natural for her to think that she has been in a deep sleep since the moment of the motorcycle accident until now. Or possibly from even before then, from the time of the phone call with the Silent Hill police station. Or maybe. While contemplating the many possibilities, Sybil climbed the stairs to the second floor of the school. Really? Looks like she's going downwards. But I guess. Option 5. G. She heard the melody being played on piano, or she heard the scream of a little. Let's go with A. And then she heard a melody being played on a piano from one of the classrooms. A nervous look ran across Sybil's face, and at the same time she felt relief, as if being drawn by the sound of the piano. Sybil cautiously moves towards the room that is mute. The room that is music coming from, while feeling along the wall with her hand. Music room. That is what is written on the door. The beautiful melody is definitely being played by someone in this room. Sybil places her hand on the door. And at that moment, the music suddenly stopped, and the area was enveloped by silence. "Who's there?" she says. She says this and then opens the door. Inside the center of the room, a grand piano has been placed. The piano appears cramped within the cozy room. No one is sitting in front of the piano. Sybil approaches the piano. Its cover is open, and the blacks and whites on the keyboard stand out. Almost like smoke, the player of the piano appears to have vanished into thin air. "Strange," Sybil mutters. Behind the curtains, under the piano, Sybil looked in all the places in the room that a person could hide. There is only one entrance to this room. There is no other way to enter this room other than by using the doors that Sybil just came through. Did they jump out the window? No, this is the second floor. Falling from here would result in more than just an injury. Having become a little spooked, she turned to leave the room. In the next instant, Sybil's heart nearly stopped. At the entrance to the music room, a white-faced girl was sitting still and just looking at Sybil. She appeared to be afraid of something, and her wide eyes were filled with tears that looked like jewels. "Cheryl? Are you Cheryl?" Sybil regained her composure and approached the little girl. She kneeled and softly placed her hands on the girl's shoulders, and the girl nodded. "My name is Cybil. Your daddy is looking for you. If we don't hurry back to him, your daddy is braving danger running around this town. Have you seen that ferocious-looking monster?" Sybil thought of the monster that she had seen in town as she spoke. I don't know which one you're talking about. I'm gonna go with no. I'm gonna go with no. Cheryl shakes her head no. "I see. Well, at any rate," Something strange is happening in this town. All the people have completely vanished. If we don't get out of here soon, then we might disappear as well. Once again, Cheryl shakes her head no. Cybil does not understand what Cheryl means, but continues anyway. I will protect you. Let's go to your daddy. It is my duty to take you to him. Saying this, Cybil takes Cheryl's hand in hers, and they leave the music room. By chance, the two of them happen to look out a window. Well, this is actually where we're going to end the episode, because apparently this is now, um, according to this is the start of chapter 6 for Cybil's scenario, and there's only 10 chapters for it, so we're halfway through already. So, yeah. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everyone who watches this. Have a good day, and I'll see you in the next episode, where I guess we'll finish off Cybil's short scenario. Bye. Have a good day.